Hi, I'm Don Reed Simmons, and you are inside the sound chamber. So, the International Sound Therapy Association is having its 20th anniversary conference in Atlanta, Georgia, October the 2nd through the 5th, this year, 2026. It's going to be an amazing event where we're bringing unbelievable professionals in the world of sound therapy to, to be able to meet with all kinds of people coming from all over the world, really. So, I want you to click the link here, go to istasounds.org and register for the 20th anniversary conference. But this conference, like I said, is bringing some amazing people like our guest right here, Michelle Berc. Thank you for so much for being part of this process, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. It's wonderful to contribute.
Absolutely. So let me just sort of talk a little bit about who you are. Michelle currently lives in Southern California, and she is a certified sound healing vibrational sound therapist. She does breath work and heart math practitioner. She is known for her sonic being method, a signature energy balancing sound bath using multiple types of instruments. Previously, Michelle worked in the music video and commercial industry before redirecting her energy to full time into the arts, into meditation, and ultimately into sound therapy. She is an ISTA certified sound practitioner and also does corporate wellness. And you know, our life takes turns strangely during the world. And I'm so glad that your life turned into the world of sound therapy. Tell me about that journey for you and what it was like to be in that sort of film, commercial, music video world to all of a sudden going into sound therapy. What was that like for you?
Yeah, so I worked in film production for many, many years, and actually there was a middle ground between the film and the sound. I actually worked in the arts as well, and first of all, in film, it's very high pressure environment. It's go go go, and you have to be on top of your game. And it actually informed me a lot on how to put things together. I did work in post production, so I have an editor's mindset and designing things and putting things together, which actually later informed how I came up with my methodology with sound. I ended up swinging my energy into the art world, and I founded a nonprofit arts organization called Create Fixate, and I produced art events for 15 years, which was a nonprofit serving emerging artists, and we had an at-risk youth program supporting the inner city communities here. And running a nonprofit comes with a lot of pressure in itself as well. My favorite part was curating the art shows and creating these beautiful experiences and really moving people energetically through our senses. And at some point, burnout was entering my world. We were understaffed. It was bigger than I could keep up with. And as you know, what happens to a lot of people, your parents, their health turns, and I was juggling a lot. And this is when sound entered my world. My quick little story is my old neighbor invited me over to join her Buddhist group and to chant with them. And it saved me. And I could not believe how quickly it balanced my inner being through sound, working with my voice. And I'm not a singer. So I ran to the bookstore and found all these amazing books on sound. And this is before sound bath culture blew up. So I dove deep into my studies, took a couple trainings, and was one of the first people in the Los Angeles area to bring what we know today as sound baths to the mainstream. And through that journey, I had to find my way, because even though I had several trainings, but what we were actually doing in person wasn't necessarily taught through those particular trainings. And that mindset coming from the film world into the curating the art shows, my design brain was really thinking about what are these sounds doing to the vessel, not only to the brain, but to our energetic body. And how do we create a balanced session where we're not over activating people and we're providing very safe experiences, because we have all walks of life attending our sessions. And so it was just interesting when you look back at all the things that you moved through in your lifetime and how it all makes sense, from this standpoint. So what I do now, and I train people, it's called the sonic being method, and I term it as the medicinal properties of sound, how to work with all the different sounds, the different instruments, how to piece it together, really leaning into session facilitation so we can hold safe spaces for people.
As a matter of fact, that's what the title of your workshop, which is going to be on Saturday, October the 3rd at 2 p.m., at 1 p.m. And it's a 2-hour workshop, and it's called Beyond Technique, the Medicinal Intelligence of Sound. And I love the way you put it, because there is an intelligence to sound, not only technically, but somatically.
Yes.
And through that feeling of sound, then it really shifts and changes the medicine of the body. Can you speak a little bit about that, especially when you're looking at the corporate world, which I understand you've done a good bit of corporate work?
Yes, yes, yes. So, there's a lot of conversations in our field today, people talking about frequencies and tunings and, which instruments are you working with mostly? And I like to stand back and look at the characteristics of sound and how these different sounds are interacting with the vessel. And how would I want to mold this angle? It's let's just step back, and a crystal bowl holds a different type of sound and serves a different purpose as a metal bowl, Himalayan bowl versus a gong. So beyond the pretty instruments, it's really about being present with the sound itself, and it's that one step further back from the actual frequency of it. Of course, we want to pair our instruments and be mindful with that, and there's that musicality, the music theory principles. But how can we step back from these conversations and really hone in on what the essence of what sound healing is, and how we can use it as a tool beyond beyond an experience that's just relaxing people, because
Right.
we have that conversation. Rejuvenation is key for people to the more we relax people, the more rejuvenation.
Right.
So now we could take it one step further and be more mindful of which instruments we're reaching for when, and the types of sounds as a practitioner we're more mindful with how we're sharing it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I come from a shamanic background, and we use the word medicine a lot.
Yeah.
The medicine of a bluebird versus the medicine of an elephant. And I think about also sound instruments as medicine. And there's the medicine of the gong, there's the medicine of the tuning fork, and how this medicine really comes about matching the medicine of the human body. Talk to me a little bit about, how different it is when you're working with someone one-on-one or a sound bath versus in any kind of corporate structure, because that's a whole different medicine when you're in the corporate wellness
It,
group.
yeah, and this is a great conversation because you're entering different containers. So,
Yeah.
a sound bath, a group sound bath, obviously we have all walks of life attending, and you can have somebody, at the highest peak in their life, that it's all about peak performance, and then you have somebody who just has a broken heart and is recovering from a breakup, and then someone going through cancer treatment. So how do we hold a space that's safe for all walks of life? And in a group experience, there is a group energy that is formed, and as a practitioner, how not only are you playing your instruments, but you have to watch the room and think about how much of certain sounds to play for this particular group. And you can at least something that I want to help develop in others, and that I will have in my workshop, is developing your spidey sense of working with the vibration in the world, in the room. What are you feeling from people, and how can we deepen that connection? And it starts with what you feel in yourself first, and then also setting
Yeah.
boundaries, like what's your feeling that's coming out of you personally, and then what's happening in the room. So setting healthy boundaries. To answer your question, working privately, obviously you could hone in on people's their very specific needs and what they're working on, their goals with shifting energy in their vessel, and it's just more personalized. And also, if you're doing several sessions over time, we can peel back the layers, like an onion. So each session serves and prepares you for the next, and you can go as deep as you want. In the corporate world, that we have to pull it back a little bit, because there's it's a different container, work life. So I may not be as shamanic with my sounds in a corporate world, and that's really about bringing that rest and rejuvenation, and syncing up the team together so they can communicate more clearly, be more focused and more grounded. So I do curate my sound session for a corporate sound bath slightly different than something personal. And I always work with my clients to customize the goals of it. And when you have a lot of instruments at your fingertips, you can get really creative with how you serve the sound. So.
It really is when you speak about the container aspect, everything has its container, whether it be corporate or sound bath or one-on-one. And every one-on-one is a different container from one person to the other person. And it really is important. I have seen for myself in teaching how people forget to read the room, and they're just playing the sound, and it being really present with the audience, with the container, is so valuable. And I think that's where, the concept of medicinal intelligence of sound, even though the sound will sort of tell you what's taking place, you have to be present with that sound.
Yeah, yeah. And also, you're the player of the instrument, so beyond your playing skills, it's letting the energy move through you as a conduit of the energetics in the room. So not only are you playing the instruments, you're listening to the resonance, you're watching the people in front of you and what's coming up for people. We can't see it all, because people are on their inner journey, of course, but you can see some physical gestures that come up, and that will inform you as a practitioner of what could be happening with that particular person. Many times people come afterwards and they're like, what was that sound? It made me feel this or that. And the one person loves the ocean drum and the next person doesn't, but why? And they're like, why did that sound irritate me? And then we can go deeper into the therapeutics of it, and what is happening with them, consciously, emotionally. And that's why the methodologies that I teach is like, how can we hold safe containers that don't overactivate people? Let them go home and integrate what has come up for them, because if it's too much, too fast, then people will go home with the headaches and not feel well. I will say this: I'm very dedicated to educating people through sound, to develop their self-awareness and self-regulation through this experience. So before all my sessions, I'm explaining how and why it works, what to do when things come up. And so they walk away a better person than they arrived.
That's one of the main goals of the International Sound Therapy Association, is to raise that level of intelligence and consciousness of sound therapy. I say often, anybody can hold a mallet and bang a gong,
Yeah.
but can you bring that wisdom of what study really brings to this? You've been around for a while, and you've seen how sound therapy has grown. And that's, and I want to thank you for being a part of ISTA, because it is that place where the professional sound therapists are beginning to live. So, how have you seen the education or the growth of sound therapy over the last 18 years or so?
It's been wild to see, you know, from the very beginning, even myself, like I dove into it and I had to learn how to facilitate and explain it to people. And it just blew up. I never thought I would even train people, but people were asking. They're like, we want to learn how you do it. And I'm just like, okay. So it's been humbling to build a program, and it's gone through like so many stages of its own evolution, and watching so many people come forward and um, gosh, I have so much to say about this. There's people that are truly dedicated to the essence of what sound healing is, and then there's some that are more performative and bringing more musicality to it. And something that I've actually been dedicated to the last year is let's define the different types of sessions and amongst the whole community.
Yeah.
So not only the people serving, you can know what type of session you're serving to people and you can market it correctly. And then the people coming to attend, they might be looking for a proper sound healing, and then they're going to a musical performance, or some people might want that more
Mhm.
of a performance type experience. And I think it's beautiful how artistic it can be as well, like just merging it all together. But there, we need structure. You know,
And that is what
yeah.
ISTA is bringing. And, thank you for bringing that up, because that's one of our big topics that we talk about is how we are incorporating all there is, but knowing that there's a difference between a one-on-one sound therapy session and a sound bath, or, something halfway in between. And they're all important and they're all welcome to the table, but
Yes.
that structure is so important.
Yeah, I think it's just language. It's
Yeah.
creating a language across the whole community, and it's a young field.
Yeah.
What is happening today, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful because humanity needs this.
Yeah.
Back to what you were asking about the corporate world, like we're moving faster than ever with technology, the digital age, and we have to slow down. And more of us have this new level of ADHD because of the cell phones, and I think
Yeah.
that's why people are reaching for these experiences to self-regulate, let the sounds guide them back to themselves. But I think, and personally, I like to educate people and take it one step further and not just rely on the sounds. Let the sounds teach you how to be human again, really.
There seems to be a need for regulation of sound therapy in the world. What is your thought on that? Because that's what ISTA is really trying to raise the bar of professionalism.
Yeah, it's still a young field as we know it today. This whole sound bath, sound meditation, we have all these names for it, and even behind the scenes in this growing community, practitioners struggle with the word sound healer. Do I call myself a healer? What does a healer mean? And then there's the different types of sessions available now, which is amazing that the community has grown and has become really creative, merging different modalities with sound, just sound on its own. But there are different types of sessions that we need to establish language that's amongst the community that's agreed upon. So as a practitioner, you can one, train on the type of session you want to serve, market yourself correctly so your clientele will know what they are attending. And it's on both sides, really. It's the practitioners that need to establish the language and educate their growing community, their patrons. And it's like learning how to you're diving into yoga for the first time, and you're like, what type of yoga is my go-to? What am I going to enjoy the most? So what are you going to do? You're going to explore a couple different classes and be like, you know what, I really love yin yoga. That's my jam. So it's the same thing for sound healing. You know, what type of session do you want to attend? What are your needs? You know, sometimes you want to relax more, and other times you really want that full body transformation. You want to move energy and shift. You know, fully shift your energetic, uh, your blueprint, really, which affects your physical vessel. So education is really important. These conferences are really important for all of us to gather together in person and have these conversations and hopefully land with the terminology needed for this growing field and bringing more structure to it.
Yeah.
So that's been my mission recently, you know, seeing a lot of random people just buying instruments and making noise, and it's not noise. You know, you can use noise medicinally, but people don't want to go to a session that's dissonance for an hour. You know, we want to come back to harmony.
And
So,
that's why I think education really is important, and creating that language, not only, like you say, for the practitioner, but also for the audience, for the public. If someone really needs a therapeutic sound, they don't necessarily need to go to someone who's just going to do something that's relaxing. We want to, differentiate between those kinds of things.
right. And
So,
I want to
yeah,
add one thing to this. It has blown up, and we're seeing it in the hospitals, and we're seeing it in a lot of different therapeutic spaces like recovery, and I see this all the time. Even the people hiring the practitioners aren't educated.
right.
And great, you have sound healing instruments, come and serve this, you know, my sensitive community here that's going through recovery right now.
Yeah.
And it's important as a practitioner that you understand what you're doing with these sounds, with your instruments, and how to hold a safe space and not overactivate. And
Yeah.
these are people that are genuinely very vulnerable moving through
Yeah.
sensitive times, and there's a responsibility as a space holder. So it's not only playing your instruments and, you know, being educated with the knowledge, but facilitation. There's just so many aspects to this work beyond just owning beautiful instruments. So
Michelle, you bring such a wealth of knowledge and experience into this. ISTA is so grateful to have people like you to raise the bar of that excellence. And that's why we're here, is to raise that bar. So I want to thank you for having the time of doing this interview and of coming all the way from California to Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be October the 2nd through the 5th. Uh, Check that link. Come make your plans now. Be a part of something that's really, really good. Thank you, Michelle. And until the next time we meet, I am Don Reed Simmons, and you are inside the sound chamber. Thank you.